We are live.
There we are. And welcome back to another episode of the Mindful Mentality Podcast. I am your co host, Caleb Rosenberg. As always, brought to you guys with my two best co hosts. Well, again, with the new addition, Mr. Daniel Uribe and Will Campbell. How you guys doing?
Was good. Was good. We're doing great. Awesome. Beautiful day. Another blessed 24 hours. So
Fair enough. Fair enough. Will, how you feeling, brother? You're still on mute.
Sorry. I'm feeling blessed every day. You already know. I feel good, man.
That's what we like to hear. And we do have a very special guest today. So before we get started, we'll let Daniel kick things off.
for you guys that haven't heard us before, here at the Mindful Podcast, our goal is to help 1,000 people improve the mindset by challenging their paradigm to break generational patterns. This podcast is to encourage and help everyone live a truly prosperous lifestyle and to show the power of writing your own story. If you find any value throughout the show, please help us get this message to other people looking to improve their mentality by sharing this.
Good deal. And
And
before
so,
we get started, go ahead, give us a comment, a rating. Make sure you guys share the show with your friends and family, man. We're trying to help as many people as we can change their mentality, change their trajectory in life, just change their whole entire world through their mindset. So go ahead, share it with your friends and family so we can get to our goal of 1,000 people. But with that being said, we have a very special guest, Miss Cathy. How are you
Woo!
today?
I'm happy to be one of the thousand.
That's what we like to hear.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. We really appreciate it. I know Daniel and yourself have been conversating for about a week or so now, just kind of setting things up. So we're very happy to have you, very excited. So, why don't you give the people just a brief background about yourself?
Well, in short, my working title is Cathy Crawley Laughing Bean Queen, and that's fun all on its own. So people, I would say, feel free to laugh along at my lame jokes. um, um, so I have simple solutions for today's challenges. Like really, if people did what I do, it would be a way better place. Okay, so what do I say? Crawley. So the crawley part is indoor composting with worms. Laughing, of course, that's laughter yoga, and everything I do is sort of new, but it's not new. I'm just the bringer of the information. Interesting. And then Bean Queen is sprout growing. So grow your own fast food. Very fun. Okay, so in brief, that's who I am.
it's very cool.
Good deal.
Let's get into the crawly part.
Okay.
Right. I've heard of composting in different ways. I know when I was in France, I spent time with I have well, he's my brother now, if you can say. Um, I spent some time and they had like a small hole in their yard where they would just place the compost.
Mm-hmm.
But you do it a different way.
Yeah, so any way you compost is fantastic. I mean, feed the raccoons, I don't care. Just don't put it in a bag and put it in the garbage. Your neighbors might have something to say if you feed the raccoons, but that's not my problem. Okay. Yeah, so composting is usually done outside, no special equipment. It's carbon nitrogen. So the carbon is your outside would be, your brown leaves, grass, straw, those kind of things would be your carbon. Inside, it's shredded paper, cardboard, drink trays, egg cartons, that kind of material. And it's your carbon nitrogen. The nitrogen is your food scraps. Outside, it would be all of your green materials. So the green grass clippings, weed heads when you clip your everything, whatever. Okay. So inside, it's done in a container with worms. It's vermicomposting or worm composting. Same idea, except it's done inside with worms. So not the same at all. And yeah, so it's a beautiful thing. And I started my worm business. I'm located in Canada, just north of Toronto, largest city in the country. In 2002, our landfill closed, and we started exporting our garbage to the US. I'll let that sit for a sec. Wow. What? And
Wouldn't they be spending money getting that garbage out of the country?
a ton of money. Yes, good, right? Good observation. A lot of money. It was a business transaction. So I say shame on Canadians for shipping their garbage out of the country. Double shame on the Americans for accepting it for cash. And not the people, the government, right? And it's just a business transaction, a bad one. 6 million people in the Greater Toronto Area. Half live in condos, townhouses, whatever, without space to do outdoor composting. So I was like, man, I have a solution. And at the beginning, there was 200 garbage trucks were making the trip from Toronto to Michigan every day, Monday to Friday, 1,000 trucks a week. Wow. So here I am, little me. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm divinely guided, and I get these things, these ideas that are outside the box. But this is in the box. You want a box. You want your worms in the box, or someone's not going to be happy. So how it works inside, you have a container, say a Rubbermaid tote or some plastic box. You have the bedding is shredded paper. Can be all your, confidential documents, shred them up, add them in there. A little bit of soil, water, mix it all up. And then you add your worms in. And so there's special worms. Daniel, you're in Texas, is that right?
Yes.
Texas is one of the largest growers for red wigglers in the States. So Texas,
Oh, wow.
Florida, Georgia, California, the warmer climates. Sorry, Minnesota. It's red wiggler worms. There's thousands of types of worms. Only 4 that have been identified for optimum for indoor composting or for vermicomposting. Sorry, I talk a lot in chatty Cathy. I just want to get the message.
You're all in. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm thinking I gotta go get my red worms and set up my vermicomposting.
Yeah, so I really started my business as a waste management tool, right? I just saw all of those garbage trucks making the way out of the country, all of our tax dollars hard at work. The government treats the money like it's an infinite pool because it is for them, right? We keep on putting in. So I think I just thought, I have a solution. And if everybody managed their food scraps, at least their food scraps and paper, that would be removed from the waste stream. We wouldn't be trucking it around. And shortly after starting my beautiful worm business, I learned, I didn't discover anything. I learned that the worms are kind of the original alchemists. They convert the food scraps and paper, the garbage that we call garbage, into black gold, into nutrient-rich soil that we can grow more delicious, nutritious food. Right? Our food is broken. So I was like, wow, these worms, everybody needs these worms. Now I just need to get the message out. So I was like, oh my gosh, I started my worm empire and I was like, everybody needs what I have. Like, wow, I'm going to be doing so well. Like, this is a great business because we need it. And then I was like, I realized early on that people didn't want what I had. Like maybe if there's a 2 people, one might be like, oh yeah, honey, we need worms. And it's not men or women. It's just like, people. One's like, yay, okay, remember I gardened, this will be great. And the other one's like, no, worms in the house, not happening. Because what I realized is people were traumatized as children in the schoolyard. After a rain, somebody chased them around, or maybe a sibling. Who knows? Maybe they were gardening, they cut a worm in half and they were traumatized by that. I don't know. Right. And now I have a psych degree. So now as adults, I'm meeting all these people that are like, if you're afraid of something, you're not having that in the house. You're not even aware that it's a possibility. So thank you for having me on your podcast.
No, thank you.
Sure.
We really appreciate it. And that's a great point that you just touched on, is that you typically, when people have some type of trauma or a negative experience with something, regardless of what that might be, they tend to shut down the possibility of hearing anything about that certain topic or thing or subject, whatever the case may be. They tend to shut that idea right down.
And to speak in the go back off of that, I think it's the younger generation more because like my generation, we grew up around worms and fished, and I don't mind worms. I touch them all the time. So like I think it's the younger the generation it gets, the more it gets like that.
And location will too, I would say. If you grew up in the city, and you never were exposed to maybe fishing or gardening or anything of that nature, if you grow up in an apartment or in an urban city,
True,
there's a lot of concrete. Yeah.
sure,
That definitely makes sense, and that's something we even touched on. A conversation we had a couple days ago was that I brought up to the guys that you can't help somebody or you can't educate somebody if they're not even open to hearing the information. So that's the first step is being open in general.
That's it. Yes. Like we need to be aware of all different things. Like I don't care if people get worms or they don't. I just don't want them to say, "Oh, I didn't know. I lived in an apartment for 20 years. I didn't know." Darn, that's on me.
Yeah.
It's kind of on me. I really feel like I'm the head worm, and it's my role. I know I put that hat on, but but I really feel like that we are put on earth for a reason, and we need to step into it. We need to be mindful, right? We need to be like, why was I put here? Ask questions. Ask. Don't just like skate along because I mean you can do what you want, but to have a satisfying life, to really be a contributing member. When we feel good, we do good, and when we do good, everyone benefits.
It's 100%.
100%. And that's kind of oh, what'd you have, Daniel?
I just said it all starts within you, and then everything within you gets escorted out.
for
But
sure.
go ahead, Caleb.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, I just wanted to build off of that, and I was going to ask Kathy what because we that's something we've mentioned on a previous episode or two, where a lot of people are lacking purpose in this life, and they need to discover why were you put here. It's not just to go through the motions, as you said. Some people, they're okay with just doing the bare minimum, going through the motions. Everybody has a different path, but it's very critical, and we preach this a lot, is to find what is your purpose of being here. And so how was it for you being able to not only discover your purpose, but how were you able to really decipher and know in your mind and in your soul that this is what I'm meant to do?
Wow, great. That's big. It's a process, I'm 59 now. It takes time. I started my worm empire at 39. I was always one of those people that lived outside of the box. I for some reason, I got a message early on that we spend a lot of time at work, so we better bloody like what we do.
Right.
Right, we spend a lot of time there with the people that we work with, so we better like them too. We better like the people we're with and what we're doing. It better, and so, and the reason that is, let me say why that happened. My stepfather passed he was 38 and I was 21, and I was like, I loved my stepfather, and he was like this special man, and he passed, and I was just like, oh my God, the good people die young. And for some reason he enjoyed his work, but for some reason I'm like, I'm never staying in a job that doesn't serve me. So as soon, and that was, what a beautiful gift. That was such a wonderful message, because I never stayed in a job that didn't serve me. Again, I'm 59, so I grew up at a different time, but we were told, you have to have a job to get a job. And I always thought, how do you get a job if you have a job? Like, how many appointments can you have? Oh, I got another dentist appointment or whatever, like you have to keep on lying to get a job. So I would just quit my jobs knowing that I would get another job because I was that good. So I did, because it's about being your beliefs. Somehow I had this confidence. I don't know where it came from. And I traveled a lot. And I think that really defined me early on.
Mhm.
I spent 13 months traveling in Africa and Asia. And I thought my role was I was 27 when I did that. And I thought my role was to get married, have babies, and be a good person. and I don't even like babies. So I was like, I like not, I just mean like when, I worked in an office and people would have, be on their mat leave, and then they'd come in with their little babies and they'd be like, everyone would be like, "Kukan," and wow. and do you want to hold the baby? And I'd be like, no, I'm afraid. What if I drop it, or what if something happens? And I love children. It's not that I just don't want my own. I didn't want my own. And when I traveled, I realized, oh my gosh, there's so many people in the world. I'm in Canada. We've got this giant country and little population. Man, I went to India and China and Hong Kong, and it was just like so many people everywhere. And I was like, heard lots of stories, saw a lot of stuff, and heard things that people maimed their children so that they could get more money when they were begging, and selling girls into prostitution, and stories. And I was just like, I don't want to have a baby. So I was a big sister. This is a big answer to, I feel quite emotional because I really want people to discover why they're here. It's in serving that we find out what it is that we're meant to do.
Me too.
Yeah. And so I started I did have a pretty cool life all along. Lessons that I, would fall down, and then I'd be like, wait a minute, that can't define me. I gotta get up and move along. So I would brush myself off and get on. Not everybody does. Sometimes we get stuck in those experiences. Yeah.
And that was great. No, that was it couldn't have been any better than how you explained it, because I wanted people to really grasp the gravity of knowing why you're here. And a lot of the time we talk about this on previous episodes, is that people just don't understand to the fullest extent of how important these certain topics are when it comes to your mentality, when it comes to finding your purpose, when it comes to confidence, things that we've just touched on briefly just now. A lot of people aren't grasping the gravity of that situation. So I'm glad that you were able to give people kind of even just a brief insight of like, this is a very serious thing that you need to take serious.
Yeah. And we get inspired thoughts. We all get them where we go. I'll do a demonstration where we go, oh, and this is how it happens for me. Oh my gosh. And you get, my heart's, and I'm like, oh my God, I got this great idea. Like, holy crap. And maybe it's business, maybe it's a hobby, maybe it's somewhere I want to go, a restaurant, I don't know, something. I get an idea, and it's just like, oh, this is so great. Oh my gosh, I'm going to do this. And everybody gets those. But what most people do is they go, oh, I'm too busy. Not right now. And they put it on a shelf. Or they talk to somebody and they're like, no, remember last time? You're not going to do that. Yeah, remember, la, la, la. And we listen to those people. Why are we listening? We're the one with the idea, not them, right? It's our inspired thought. And so if it was a business idea or something, 6 months down the road, you might see your idea. And you're like, no, I had that idea. That's what I was going to do. Yeah, because you didn't do it. You put it on the shelf. I say it was given to 6 people. I don't know how many people got that same thought right at that moment when it came from wherever it comes from, right? Wherever ideas come from. Yeah.
So that's great.
Yeah.
Take action.
You have to execute your ideas is basically what you're saying. What causes people to get held back or not take action?
Fear, lots of fear, like fear of the unknown, like fear of failure, fear of success. I think they're kind of at the opposite ends. And it seems weird to say fear of success. It's like, who would be afraid of success? Because when we're successful, then we have to change. We have to step into that. And then we have to own that. No more lounging around like, I'm good here. Like, maybe you have a comfortable life. That's great. And that's fine if you're okay. But remember, we are all one. We're all connected. So what you're doing is affecting me. And if you're not living your purpose, that means there's a hole in, like, that means the jigsaw puzzle is not going to be complete because there's a missing piece. And it's really big. I sell worms by the pound, 20 years. Like, holy shit. I'm sorry about my swearing, but
Oh no, this is
it's
not
You're
a
really.
good
swearing
in here.
podcast.
Good in here.
But I do deal in worm poop, so
Fair enough.
and it's really big. I deal in garbage, and because people are traumatized by worms or they hate them, or worms, can of worms is a bad thing. I'm trying to change that. When I hear can of worms, I'm like, can of worms. Getting right, changing people's mind. Like computer viruses are worms, like just worms. Parasites are worms. Like worm is a bad word, and I'm trying to change that. Somehow I was put here to do this. And whenever we go against what we were put here to do, because we get messages, we do, and we discount them. Like we might think it's indigestion or something. That's a note. That's a note.
Yeah.
When we meet somebody and we get that feeling in our belly, sometimes we discount it. We all have intuition. We just don't use it anymore. We've forgotten. We've forgotten how to ask. When we ask questions of the universe or God or whatever you believe in, it doesn't matter what the energy that is keeping us going. When we ask questions, we get answers. We just have to wait and ask the right questions, or keep asking, and be still. Be still and wait for the answer to come. And it does. It sounds woo-woo. But it's guided me kind of my whole life. I get these messages and I do act. The expression knowledge is power. No, not, it's just information if we don't do anything.
Oh,
Facts.
Look, I keep dropping all these things. Anyone taking notes?
No, you're spot on. Like everybody in this world, no matter what position you're in, has a certain purpose by God, definitely. So I definitely agree with that. That's spot on.
And it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be this ginormous thing. It can be as seemingly small as shoveling the driveway of the neighbor, or doing their shopping if they can't get out. It doesn't have to be world changing, because it is world changing already, just in its just little piece.
And I'm kind of picturing like you're saying, like the ecosystem, how it works. Everything goes around, and the worms, they play a bigger part than a lot of people know. Like if there was no worms, I'm pretty sure that would cause a lot of problems in the ecosystem. Definitely.
We would be drowning in garbage if there wasn't worms and other critters. Like they're the top. They're like the lions of the forest, of the jungle.
Mm,
The worms are the top predator, but there's a whole microcosm of like fungi and bacteria and nematodes and all these things that that we try to get rid of with all the sprays and chemicals that we put on to get rid of the the germs and the bugs. Right, we're more bacteria than anything, and so I mean, this is a whole nother chat. But all the things that I do are just helping us be healthier. Like, when we're composting and growing food, we're not on our technology. It's not possible. It will get dirty.
right.
I was wondering. So how would I see that at a huge level, like of somebody composting, like on a higher scale, like
Will's
how
Ranch.
much? Huh?
Will's Ranch / farm.
Yeah, so I'm
Yeah.
interested. So I'm trying to see like how would I do that at a higher level?
Yeah, so everything can be scaled up. My role, I think, here is to help the individual, every family, to get worms. That's what I want to do. A pound of worms in every house. It can absolutely be done on a larger scale. Everything can be scaled up, but because we're dealing with live critters, management is required. So here are the key factors: temperature, moisture, airflow. What was I going to say? Temperature, 16 to 28 Celsius. I think that's around 60 to 80 Fahrenheit temperature. So room temperature, really. Temperature, moisture, so about 75% humidity, fairly moist, and airflow. So you need to have, if you're doing it in bins, you need to have holes in the bin. If you're doing it on a larger scale, like say you do it in a barn, you can do it right on the floor. Like managing manure is a great way. If you're looking to produce worms, growing in a medium like manure, all of the vegetarian animals, horses, cows, sheep, goats, rabbits. Rabbits produce the perfect worm food. Some people have rabbits and then they have their worm bin or their worm farm right under the rabbit hutches. And then all the poop, the urine, the shavings go down, the worms eat all that, right? They're alchemists. They turn it into something better. And then you take that and they actually will reduce or eliminate gram-negative bacteria, E. coli, Salmonella, Shigella, that causes harm from raw manure, like cow manure and stuff, pig manure and whatever, into something more safer to handle. Like they're just these magic creatures that we walk on. We literally are walking on them. We're not even paying any never know mind. They've been around since the dinosaur. I think they're waiting patiently there to serve their purpose, which is to really turn our garbage into gold, to help us grow more nutrient rich food, reduce our garbage, and get us out gardening and growing again.
What is an alchemist for people that don't know?
Oh yes, I keep saying that word. I
love alchemy. I got into it, but after I read the Alchemist actual book, I've fallen in love with the actual term of turning things that aren't to something that is. And you can do the same thing with your dreams by action, how you were talking about earlier. So for people that don't know what alchemist is, what is that?
I would say alchemist is when you can take something that is, and then just convert it into something else that's better. I think, I don't know if alchemy is necessarily that it has to be better, but I'm going to say that it is. So the worms take garbage, right? Something that we throw away, and they turn it into something we want to keep. And I say to the kids, I do a lot of school workshops, and I say the worms convert this. So I have one bin that has the shredded paper, and I say then I have a bag of rotting food. It's very attractive. And I say the worms convert this and this into, and then I have a bin that's all worm poo, and then I say, I pick it up and I go, it's worm poo, and then they go, ew, because I touched it with my hands, and I say, okay, wait a minute. Okay, worm poo, ew, poo. What if I call it black gold? Isn't that different? Then I go, oh, black gold. Oh, I better have that. Poo, ew, black gold. Wow, let me keep some of that.
Because they don't even understand the amount of nutrients that are in that. And back to the nutrients, I know that you mentioned earlier that this creates more nutritious food. And for you to be healthy and for your mind to be healthy, you need to consume the right food.
So
we
it's
need
good
to
for soil.
Sorry, Will.
So is it good for soil?
Yes.
Yes, it's building the soil. That's what we need to do as gardeners. We just need to look after the soil, and the soil looks after the plants. We don't need to put any junk on the plants. That's ridiculous. It's good for that crop, like that one time, but it's not doing anything for the for the body, which is right. The earth is where the life is. Yeah, it's so beautiful. Feed the soil. Like people say to me, "Are you a gardener?" And I'm not really. No, I'm a soil maker. And my garden is, oh my gosh, 20 years I've lived in 30 years, I guess, almost 30 years in my house. And wow, yeah, no chemicals have been applied on my property, and I do all kinds of cuckoo collections. I got to feed my worms. So after Halloween, I go around and collect. Well, now I get people to drop them off. But when I first started my business, I would go around after Halloween and drive and pick up people's pumpkins. Oh my gosh, I was like the pumpkin patrol. Right, there's free food everywhere. Like this is a great business for young people looking for something where it's a feel-good business. You got to work hard, but you feel good. You're doing good. You feel good. You're turning your stuff. Like I sleep well at night. I'm doing good work, and there's money to be made here, because when we're talking about the organic matter, restaurants, grocery stores, like schools, group homes, wherever there's a lot of food waste, did I say restaurants? You have to get rid of it fast. And especially with these giant super centers and stuff that we've created now, the Walmarts and whatever that are creating all that food waste. Yeah, so there's lots of opportunity. They're paying a lot of money to get rid of it. So if you can come in at a lower price and offer to take it and feed your worms or compost it, whatever you're doing, then you're turning it into compost. Like I chose as far as a business model, if you're going to do this, maybe don't do worms because it's not really sustainable as a business because I have to find new customers every time. So I have about, so I have about 10,000 customers. You know, I have tons of energy. I feel on purpose. So I'm okay. I'm an educator, right? I realized early on that people didn't want, that's where I started, I think earlier on. People don't want what I had. So I took on school workshops and I started to do, you know, at elementary, high school, just talking about it. And I was like, oh, now I have to wait 20 years till they have buying power. I'm there.
Oh,
Next year's my 20th anniversary.
Wow.
And it's really poetic because, and I get emotional because I'm like, wow, I meet people now that, because I do a lot of exhibiting. Before COVID, I was doing, you know, lots of events, lots of displays, schlepping my stuff all over, but on purpose, right? I loved it. I was never, well, not never. Some days were like when it was raining and I was like, I'm doing an outdoor event. Oh, great. Why should I get a job? Wipe that thought away. But I'm meeting young folks that they come up to me and they go, oh, you came to my grade 3 class. And because of you, I took environmental studies at university. And I'm
that's
like, wow. Oh my gosh. Can you imagine? Thank you. Like, and more than once. So,
wow.
you know, I feel on purpose, like it, and yeah, so beautiful. So I really want other people to experience that magic. And we may never know. We don't know how many people we affect every day of our life. Every day we meet, we walk past someone, we have a choice of smiling at them, making eye contact, like a little wave. Hey, I see you. Because we all want to be seen. We all want to be seen and see people. We do. But we look away like these things. I don't have a cell phone, but I see people, you know, everyone looks away. They're just like, oh, here, if I'm looking at my thing, I don't have to look at anybody, but look around. It's magic when you meet people. When we talk to people and we look at them, we're like, hey, what's your story? What about you? And you learn something about somebody and you're like, wow, that's super cool, whatever it is. And maybe it's nothing, or maybe you're like, hey, you want to do that? I know somebody that you need to meet because, you know, you can have all the knowledge in the world. It's not what you know. This is an old expression. It's who you know. And then even further than that, it's who knows you.
Oh,
Mm.
Who's reaching out to you?
oh,
Daniel preaches that all the time,
Whoa.
right?
Yeah, and that's a very good point because, and actually for our viewers, if you guys haven't gone back and seen season 1, go back season 1 and listen to Connections, our episode on connections, because that's exactly what we touched on. Is we've been telling you guys, we bring on people who will tell you guys the same things. Like, we're trying to really drive these points home to you guys from different perspectives, that it's about creating relationships and then what those relationships can build. And you have to think past, what can this person do for me right now? It's all about a long-term mindset. You want to build a relationship so that way you don't know what type of situation could come about 2 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, and that might be the connection you need to get through that situation. So that's a beautiful point on connections and relationships. I mean, it's just so critical.
And right now we're in the gig economy, so it's the perfect time to make connections, right? You know, I know a lot of people are doing driving Uber and I don't know, all these gig things. Nobody's driving their personal car because they want to. So everybody has a story. Like, so ask that person who's driving you around, hey, what would you rather be doing? And wait for the answer. It's cool. When you hear those answers, it's just like, wow. You know, I don't have a cell phone, so I had actually never Ubered. And just in 2019, I was at a conference in Vegas. I had never been to Vegas, and it freaked me out because I was like, oh my gosh, like as a rabid environmentalist, it's kind of the anti-environment. but that's a whole nother thing that, that's my own issue. But so I got to take an Uber, and I was like, wow, it was a whole new experience. It was my first time, and because someone else, a bunch of us went out for, and the speaker that we went to see said, talk to everybody that you meet, and he actually takes a picture with them. He meets them and then he takes a picture, because then you're connected. Then if you ever need something, or if you need to, right? Brilliant strategy, brilliant. Right? Okay, so we get in the thing. I'm like, it's my first time in an Uber, and I'm like, Tom's voice was in my head. I said, hey, this is a whole new experience. I'm settling right into this. So there's 5 of us. We were all at the same conference. I'm the one that pipes up and says, hey, if you weren't driving Uber, what would you be doing? And he said, well, hey, thanks for asking. I'm actually a filmmaker. I did this whole thing. And he whips out his phone, and while he's driving, I know it's okay. It's fine. I don't know. I don't know. People are good. Anyway, he cues up the trailer, and he passes back the trailer, this 3-minute trailer for his video. And it's like this action thing that's going to be in Hollywood. It was like, wow. He was so proud. He was so fired up. Like somebody cared about his story. Wow. Cool. And then when I flew back to Toronto, I had parked my car there. So the little bus that drove us, I said to that guy, if you weren't driving here, what would you be doing? He said, hey, thanks for asking. He said, I'm retiring next year, and I'm going to open a catering company. And And so I got his card. I'm in Toronto. He's in Toronto. I might need a caterer.
Yeah.
So cool. Like, wow. It's just like, so then I called up that guy from the conference, and I said, hey, guess what happened? And I don't even have a cell phone. I told him it was my first time in an Uber, and He called me back, and he said, the big speaker from Vegas stage, called me back and said, first of all, like it was a message on my machine that I kept for the longest time because I thought it was super cool that he called me back. He said, first of all, how do you function without a cell phone?
I'm sorry, I'm with him on that one. I would love to hear that one.
For real.
Well, I have a landline. For real, you want to know? I have a landline. I mean, I don't have children, right? I'm afraid of babies. We already covered that. I have worms. So I'm kind of living a different life, to be honest. As an I said rabbit, I'll say it again, rabid environmentalist. I really am very careful about the planet. And in 2009, I was doing, remember, 20 years I've been in this environmental game. I've seen a lot, and I know a lot. And that's why we'll get to laughter, because it really has kept me in this game. Otherwise, I would have been crying in the corner, because it's heavy, all the stuff that I know about what's happening with our beautiful planet. Okay, wait a second. Where was I going with that? Oh yeah, so I was doing a cable show. Every month I was the environmental expert, and so I would research, different topics every month, and then I would go on and talk about that topic. And one month I was talking about cell phones, and when I did my research, 2009, I learned that 549,000 cell phones were discarded daily in the U.S. alone.
What?
2009, like before all the smart stuff.
Wow.
Oh, horror. Oh, sorry.
That's wild.
Right. So I was like, it doesn't need to be +1. I can do my part. Like, oh, what can you do? You're just one person. That's right. I'm one. Imagine how, I don't know how many cell phones people have. I don't know how many they go through. A lot. I know it's a lot.
I went through a couple this year.
This year, right?
Unfortunately.
Yeah, well, because they break down. They're not meant, right? They have that built-in obsolescence, meaning they're not built to last. Things don't last.
The big block phones from back in the 90s, those are long lasting.
right? So I have anyway. So that's my story. That's why I don't. And I think and I think it's part of my story now. I love telling people that I don't have a cell phone. Like young people, stop breathing. And when they compose themselves, like when we're in person, I'm there to give them CPR if they need it. But when they come back to life, they breathe. They ask me, how do you function? Like, wow, how do people get in touch with you? And I say, I have an answering machine. I do have a computer, so I am all over social media. It's just that I choose when I'm there, and I know it's a different time. It's fine. I just want people to be mindful that it's made to make us addicted to it, and we are. Yes. And that's the danger. Like, it's a beautiful tool because look at us, we're connected. Mm-hmm. In across North America. It's so beautiful. Look at this. And around the world. Yeah. Wow. Hallelujah. Right?
Yeah.
So cool. And especially during this cuckoo time. But we need to have limits. We need to have, people say to me, wow, good for you. Well, you could be good for you if you wanted.
I would love to hear your thought on the 5G conspiracy then later. Maybe. The
5G, it's going to melt our brain. We don't need 5G. 5G just, I know people know, and I do go to a lot of things and hear a lot of speakers on stuff. So I do know a little bit of everything, which is a bit dangerous. But 5G, we really don't need it. So 1G was, just those phones from the 90s, right? Just cell. And then 2 was like phone and text, and then phone, text, email. And 4 is where we are now, where it's video, whatever, phone. And 5G is Internet of everything. Like, why the heck do you need to be able to turn your lights on when you're not home? Come on. Yeah. Right. And why does your fridge need to be smart? Why does it need to be like, can't you just look in there and you can see what you need to order? like what you need from the grocery store. I don't know. Like, to me, I know I don't have this technology, and it's super cool. It is all very cool. And for those people that are, the gadget lovers, I know that it's a wonderful thing. And it's that addiction, right? It's that dopamine hit. Like, why do we drink and do drugs and have sex addictions and eat foods and stuff? Because we want those chemical hits. Yes. This is where laughter comes in. Look at how I did that.
I want to get into that. So, the laughter yoga. How does that work?
Yeah, so laughter yoga. Oh my gosh. So the laughter yoga, it's a real thing. I didn't make it up. It started in 1995 by a medical doctor, Dr. Madan Kataria in India. And his goal is world peace through laughter. First of all, like that's a bandwagon I would love to jump on. Oh yeah, I did. Fun. Okay. Join me. Oops. Oh, my ear fell out. There we go. It's okay. Okay. So in about maybe 2012, one more person said to me, ooh, worms in the house. And I was like, oh gosh, my goal is to put worms in every living space, every house, every apartment, every classroom, every business, worms everywhere. So we totally don't have to truck that stuff. We don't have to think about it anymore. It's being managed. And we can use that money for other stuff.
So
22. Sorry.
Oh yeah, no, sorry. I was going to ask you how much would each person. You said, I know you mentioned a pound. You want to get a pound in every person's household, but how much would that eat? How much would they create from that?
Yeah, so a pound. So I say a pound because it's easy math. A pound of worms and their descendants could transform a ton of what. Before I started my business, I heard a pound of worms and their descendants could transform a ton of organic waste in a year, and that the average Canadian/American family creates a ton of organic waste in a year. So I said, wow, every family needs a pound of worms, and I'm just the one to put a pound of worms in every house. So a pound of worms, they eat half their weight per day, so it's about 3 to 4 pounds per week. And if you create more than that, that's great. That means you're eating healthy food and, your fresh stuff because it's your fruit and vegetable peels, coffee, tea, pasta, rice, beans, grains, plant clippings, That kind of material is what you're putting in. What stays out? No meat, no dairy, no sauce. So the worms are healthy eaters. Yeah, so it's really substantial. I mean, I do have the stats on all of that, but people could do the math. Like one family, 3 pounds a week, say 3 pounds, 6 pounds, 2 weeks, right? 12 pounds a month, 120, 100, whatever that is, 130 something pounds of food waste. And then the worms are reducing the volume by about 80%. And then you're creating black gold, right? So then you're creating something beautiful that you can put on your garden. And if you don't garden, that's fine. You can give it away. If you have people on your gift giving list, package it up. Gardeners know the value of the worm poo. Yeah, right. It's just this magic. I really believe that the worms, it's like the infinity symbol, like the 8 on its side, right, which is, closing the loop on our food. We don't have to truck it around. So we feed our worms the scraps. The worms turn it into soil. We grow more food. We eat the food. We give the worms the scraps. We grow more food, on and on it goes. And we're healthier. We're happier. When we're eating nutrient-rich, beautiful, yummy food that we grew, we're healthy, we're nourished. We know when we eat a bag of chips or whatever our junk thing is that we love, like it's designed for us to love it. Like just the right crunch, just the right sugar and salt content or spice, just the right everything. Those chemical engineers are good for a reason, right? They've got social psychologists on their team. They have the whole team of people that have all these degrees behind their name that have designed our food-like substances that to make us addicted, just like our thing. It's fast food that while we're on our technology gaming or whatever we're doing, instead of living, it's all, I mean, not to be a theorist, a conspiracy person, because it's true.
I agree.
You need sustainability in life, period. And literally,
it's our life. Like they say, what's the thing? YOLO. What's that? You only live once. We only die once, actually.
Exactly.
We only die once. We live every day.
Yeah, that's what we were saying. We live every 24 hours.
We live all the time, every minute to minute. So laughter. So okay. So thank you. I hope that helps. And lots of information on my website about the worms too. But I really would like to get to laughter before we end, because this is the Mindful Mentality podcast, and laughter is all about being mindful. It's what we need during this crisis that we're in. We have this mental health tsunami, and it was here before. We just have to look at it now, because that's all we can do is just look in this little boxes that we're in. We can't get together anymore. And how do you torture people, actually? Pardon?
You torture them?
How do you torture people? By isolation.
Oh,
right. By keeping them separate. Yeah, not funnily. I like your form of torture. That's fun. Right? But serious, right?
That is true what you're saying, because I heard when we're isolated, there's less oxygen in the air and such, and all that. Like it keeps us, when we're isolated, basically it goes in with the ecosystem. Like it's more diseases going around and stuff.
And it's just us and our thoughts, right? Oops! Oh, my dog jumped off my lap. I lost my ear again. This is new. This thing is new.
Trust me, I know. I understand.
This is live TV, folks. Yeah, it's I lost where we were. Where we were. Bring me back.
Yeah,
isolation. Yeah. So, right. Solitary confinement. And so what have we done now during this cuckoo time? No, you can't get together with your family. What? Your family even? Come on. What? And at the beginning, and again, I don't want to get into the whole talk of this. We don't need to talk about it. But, even if you don't have symptoms, you're a carrier. And, if you don't have the vaccine, you're the devil. It's like, oh, when did you become the devil? Like, how did that all happen? Right. It's all like, again, I don't know what's happening, but so laughter. We're primed. The laughter yogis are primed for this time. This is a global movement. Laughter yoga is not about fancy pants or poses. It's not doing yoga and laughing. It's laughing. It's intentional laughter exercises, deep diaphragmatic breathing, so internal jogging. The yoga part is the deep breathing and the practice of it, like doing laughter every day, just deciding I'm going to get my laughter on. And so that's where the laughter club comes in. It's not easy just to laugh. 10 to 15 minutes of sustained belly laughter is equivalent to about 300 sit-ups, 30 minutes on a rowing machine. I mean, I could give,
Wow.
right? Yeah.
Let me write this down.
I have rock hard abs from laughing. I'm not kidding.
I'm about to change my schedule up a little bit. Put 15 minutes of laughter in this at this time increment. Get on TikTok or something for 15 minutes or something.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not jokes or comedy. It actually started out with jokes. In a park in India, they were telling jokes, and that's how it started. And then, the jokes started to become off color, like two people, whatever. It's not funny for somebody. So laughter yoga is about just silly games. So it's clapping and chanting. You clap palm to palm, so you're activating the meridians. And there's a mantra, and it's not religious. It's just like ho ho ha ha ha, ho ho ha ha ha. And we kind of trick our brain, right? Our brain's the thinker. So our brain's like, "Ooh, I feel weird. This is weird. What are you doing? Stop it." You know, that friend in our voice, that voice in our head that's not our friend, actually. Like you would never have somebody as you would never choose to have a friend like the voice in your head.
No,
Let's put it that way, right?
for real.
That's true, right? I'll let that sit for a
That
second.
was funny.
That's so true. You'd be like, holy, like, thank you. Like, shut up now. Go away. Go home for dinner. Right. So that's really your ego. That's just like, and your ego's role is just to keep you safe and, in the box. And your body, it doesn't feel, your body doesn't think, your body's the feeler. So your mind might be, the first time you go to a laughter club might be like, oh, this is weird. What's happening here? What am I doing? I can't laugh for nothing. What? Okay. But once you get past that, you barrel on through, your body's like, and you start secreting the love drugs. Pew, 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 pew. And the more you laugh, ha, 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 pew, 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 pew. Pew,
So
pew,
there's
pew.
actual places I can go to, like yoga, laughter places.
Yes.
Wow.
So when we're laughing, we're secreting the love drugs, right? Laughter's the best medicine. We've all heard that before. Have you heard that? Yes. And I say, have you had your daily dose? Dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins, the love drugs, versus cortisol when we're stressed.
Right.
And I think the very most important part of laughter yoga, I mean, those are fun. The love drugs are fun. We're in charge of our own pharma. We drink, we do drugs, we do all these addictions because we want that hit. I'm actually addicted to winning radio contests. And every time, because they're all on speed dial, right? I have the fastest dialer. I have a landline, so they're all programmed in, and I just hit one button. And I'm like Pavlov's dog when I hear the cue. I swear to God, I have a whiteboard with all the radio contests on with their number, with the times after everything. So fun, right? And I win all the time. I've won a lot of money. Okay, fine. But as soon as
strategy, I never thought about that. Wow.
As soon as it starts ringing, oh my gosh, I get like pew pew pew. I don't have to do it. I'm just like, I get that hit, right? Because it's just like I got my drug. It's ringing, and I'm like, oh my God, it's ringing. And sometimes I'm the lucky number, right? You have to be a certain number caller, and so it's a game of chance. But it kind of costs me nothing because I work from home and I'm the boss. Right? That's kind of my own little fun thing, and I think that's the whole cool thing about when you're on purpose and living your life is every moment you get to decide, right? We're the one. So the very important part, I forgot about the very important part about laughter yoga is the breath, the oxygen. So we can live without food and water for a few days. We might be grumpy and uncomfortable, but we could do it. We can only live without oxygen for a few minutes. depending how long you can hold your breath. Right? But yeah, so laughter forces us. That sounds harsh. Laughter encourages us to breathe in, right? You can't just ha 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 because you're just expelling. Now you have to go okay, and right, you know, we all know we've had those good belly laughs where your stomach's hurting with your buddies, whatever, and your cheeks are hurting, you know, the tears are streaming down, and you're like, oh, don't stop looking at me. Maybe it was in class, right, where you're not supposed to be, or you know, somewhere where it's inappropriate to laugh.
Yes.
And why do we laugh at because it's like the pressure cooker, right? The little things going back and forth, the pressure's building up, and it's inappropriate, but you have to release that tension. And so you laugh, and then once you laugh, you can't put it back in. And it's okay, right? Because then somebody else will laugh, and it's our society has snuffed out laughter because you can't control people when they're laughing hysterically. When you have a whole group of people all laughing, okay, people, take your seats. Sit down, everybody.
And I think a big part of that, just add on top of that, is like the way everybody thinks. Like people aren't used to social conversations anymore, and a lot of social conversations go off of a joke or anything, like somebody joking or something. So we don't have that today. It's more of everybody kind of sticks to their self in certain ways. So
Exactly.
yeah.
I think we're trying to escape a lot. You know, I think, you know, why we have the thing, you see people, I mean, again, BC, these are all BC stories, you know, at a restaurant, you know, when one person would get up to go to the washroom, the other person would automatically pull out their thing, like how uncomfortable to sit there and maybe make eye contact with that someone at the next table or something. Like, you know, we need to look around and make eye contact, because we are human creatures. We are social beings. And when we laugh, we actually do get socially bonded. So I'm doing, I'm doing incredible work with laughter. And there are laughter clubs around the world. I'm not alone. There's a whole team of us, like thousands and thousands of laughter leaders. And I'm a laughter teacher, so I teach leaders. But I'm doing work with folks with dementia, long-term care, Alzheimer's, and different, you know, where they don't need the frontal lobe. It's not about jokes, but it's like music. It reminds us. We're like, oh, I remember. I went into a long-term care before COVID. It was Italian demographic. And I don't speak Italian, but it's fine. Laughter is universal. It's fine. So we were laughing, and the woman that invited me to come to the home, she came up to me after. She said, that was so great. She said, my Uncle Joe lives here, and he kept saying in Italian, I don't know why I'm laughing. I don't know why I'm laughing. I'm like, oh, I'll be back. Good, I made Uncle Joe laugh. Because she's like, he never laughs.
Oh, wow.
Well, right? It's so beautiful. Yeah, I'm doing work with special needs. I got a download. Like I said earlier, I'm intuitively guided, and we all are if we pay attention. And it's in nature. Like for me, I get messages when I walk in nature. So I was in the forest, and I was doing work with special needs. You know, 15 years it took me to get my psychology degree. I only went at night. It wasn't to get a degree. It was because I just liked learning. I liked meeting the people that were going at night. I ended up getting a paper, so what? Who cares? Right now, I'm a worm farmer. I have a psych degree. Yippee! So there I was. So I was like, oh, I'm going to use my psychology degree. You'll see. And I did end up getting a job at a group home working with challenged adults. And I really thought I had come home. I worked in an office for 20 years, different offices. You know, I changed jobs every year. But I got a job at the group home, and I was like, oh my gosh, this was what I was put on earth to do, was work with this demographic. I love these people. They're non-judgmental. They're like just so open. If you respect them, they respect you. It's just like very simple. They require work, and it's challenging industry to work in, but management is the big challenge, because they think, you know, they're in their ivory tower given the instructions from, you know, from above, and they forgot. Maybe they started on the front line, but they forgot. And so I couldn't work with management. One of my strengths and one of my weaknesses, one of my superpowers, I would say, is abuse of power, not my own. Like I recognize, and I either have to change the situation or I have to leave the situation. I can't, it's too uncomfortable for me to stay there. So at this particular group home, they had 10 homes and a farm, and management was, they were hard to work with. If you lived there, it was fine. They treated you fine. It was a beautiful place to live. But as an employee, they liked keeping us at odds because they didn't want us to come together in case we covered up something, because of the folks we were working with, some nonverbal folks and whatever. And it's kind of messed up logic. Like how can you keep your workforce at odds? Like where we're, tattling on each other and stuff. That's coming from a scarcity mentality. We really need to come together and know that you come to that industry because you love it. You love the people you want to serve, and you're there to make it better. And then it's better for you because you have stuff to work on too. And there, it's a message. Anyway, that's enough of that. Anyway, I had to leave because I couldn't change management. Their management was management. They were above me. And so I did leave the situation. And but I left with a heavy heart thinking, I really loved it. I thought I was meant to do this 15 years to get my psych degree, a year in the industry. Now I'm a worm farmer. How do you like that? Then laughter yoga came around, and now I'm doing laughter yoga with special needs folks, and it's so beautiful. It fills my heart. I'm like, now I don't have to work with management. I'm in charge, but I get to work with who I want, right? When you're an entrepreneur, when you have your own business, and I'm not suggesting it's for everybody, it is not, because you have to be very driven to
the right mindset.
You have to have the right mindset. You have to be motivated. You have to want it really bad, and you got to be not chasing just the money, because if you're chasing money's not going to make you happy forever. Look at me, 20 years in, I'm still pretty gung-ho about the worms, and I still do believe that it's the way. But I needed help, right? 10 years in, I was getting discouraged. It was getting hard. I was like, man, this is really hard. How am I ever going to do this if people are still saying ooh? Because if you're saying ooh, you're not hearing the message. Right? So then someone introduced me. Then, just as I'm about to get out, I wasn't. I thought I was, but I wasn't. I was at a meeting, and the speaker gave a 5-minute introduction to laughter yoga. I don't even do yoga. So I was like, laughter yoga, what's that? Cool. And then that same week, I was at a business networking event, hundreds of people, again, before COVID. And the very first woman I met was a laughter yoga teacher. And I was like, what? Come on. So for me, right, twice in 1 week. So I said to her, laughter yoga is mainstream. Right? So that was, I guess, 2013 at this point. In 2012, I was getting discouraged. Okay, 2013. Okay. And so she said, no, it isn't. And so we trooped around that night, hundreds of people. We didn't meet everybody, but everybody we met, I said, have you heard of laughter yoga? Have you? Nobody had. And I was like, universe, here we go again. Like, first you want me to put worms in every living space, and now you want me to bring laughter that everybody knows how to laugh, but now you want me to charge them. Okay. Right? Who wants to? Anyway, so now here we are. I loved it so much, and it helped me. I believe I became a laughter yoga leader and then teacher, so I can teach others. And I teach people not so they can necessarily be leaders, but so they can learn for themselves. Once we know something, that's when we can teach it. It's once we know it, when we've embodied it, when we know laughter. And here's a wonderful expression. English is so beautiful. No laughter, no problem. No laughter, no problem. Okay, I'll explain. K and right? It's like, what?
I see it. I see what you K and then N.
Yeah.
K.
Right on.
English, so I have to put it together.
Do it. Say it, Daniel. Do it.
Sorry?
Yeah, tell it. Say what it is.
No problem, no laughter.
K-N-O-W laughter, N-O problem. N-O laughter, K-N-O-W problem. Right? Have your therapist on speed dial because you got to talk about it. But with laughter, you don't, because we're just laughing. We're just like, ha, 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 ha. And then there's a little thing like we said, ho, ho, ha, ha. between games, so they're like you make milkshakes, zoop, 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 and then you drink it, ha 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 ha. You get out your cell phone, you like pretend it's all imagination. You get out your cell phone like someone's telling you a funny story, ha 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 ha. Okay, you do stop and go, like green light, boo, stop, ha ha ha, and then you laugh when you're at the red light or whatever, right? Just little games, and between the games, you say very good, yay. And it's when we're like this is the universal symbol or international sign for victory.
Yeah.
When we're like this, we're like when we're running a race, how are we when we're the winner? We're like, you go through the tape and you're like this, like I did it, right? And we're like this. We can't be sad. You can't have your hands over your head and be like, oh, I'm so sad.
Oh, field goal, touchdown, everything.
Right, field goal, right, everything, all those sports metaphors, right? So I say if you're feeling bad or sad or down, depressed, those are low vibrating energies. You got to move, baby. So just doing 3 yippies, and you could do it or not if you want. You throw your arms in the air 3 times, yippee, yippee, yippee. And then you laugh. Right? It changes your state. And we know, right? Put on a happy song or a song comes on the radio and all of a sudden you're like singing along or tapping your toe or whatever to that song. Music, it's vibration. That's what laughter is. It's up here. It brings us right to the present. We're not thinking about yesterday or tomorrow. We're right here. And as a survival mechanism, it's actually not that great of a strategy because when you're laughing full on, your knees get weak. So you actually can't run away, if you're being chased by a tiger or something. It's like, right? So you can only laugh full on when you feel safe.
That's so true. Because I'm going to bring it to like, let's say I'm at the gym and I'm doing some sort of exercise and somebody's making me laugh or I hear something funny in the background. I'm laughing. Instantly, this weight that's on my shoulders is 10 times heavier. And that's now. But it kind of is a survival mechanism in that way.
Yeah.
So
fun.
You're saying laughter, you have to be feeling safe in order to laugh.
Yeah, in order to laugh full on, like where you're laughing, where you kind of lose control, right? Where everything's firing and you're just laughing, you're tearing up, you just because everything is getting fully oxygenated, like your whole body is. And a laughter yoga session actually is so cool. So you start with some gentle warm-ups. I said there was no poses. There's not poses, but you might spin your arms around or whatever, like whatever. You do some gentle stuff and deep breathing. So it is really about the deep breathing. And then you do some laughter exercises. You get connected. In person is so fun. But now on Zoom, it's working out quite well too. In person, here's how you end with a laughter meditation. So there's a couple of types of meditation, still and dynamic. And still meditation is, you want the thoughts to go away, right? You want that friend to stop talking. And they never do, right? Come back to your breath. Okay, this is hard. So with laughter meditation, it's a dynamic meditation, so much easier. Well, I know some people love meditation. It's fine. So laughter meditation. Okay, so you've all come together. You've all breathed. You've laughed, 30 minutes or 45 minutes, however long the class is. And then you end. You lay on the ground if everybody's able, not in long-term care, but if everybody's able, you come together and your heads are together. You're laying on your back. So you're all connected. It's fine, right? You're safe. You trust everyone, right? So you're laying on your back and then you just laugh and you laugh anywhere it's organic, a minute, 5 minutes, whatever. You just laugh full on, this cardiovascular thing. And nobody's looking at you. You're not looking at anyone. You're just like, you're safe because you're laying on the ground. And oh my God, as soon as it's over, like it starts small, like it starts like, ha, 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 ha. Like maybe it's like, okay, this is really weird. But then somebody starts, right? Yes. Ha, 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 ha. And then you're laughing full on. Ha, ha, ha. And then it's real all of a sudden.
It's
and
real.
You're laughing full on.
It's real. It's like, laughter is contagious.
It's contagious.
I have a friend who's hilarious but his laugh is even funnier. So I'm just here, just cracking up because the joke isn't funny, but your laugh is. And it's beautiful because now I'm laughing and I'm really feeling that. You know what I mean?
Yes,
I
I
hate
do.
when people like throw somebody off because of their laugh. Like they call their laugh ugly. Like that's the most beautiful thing about a person is letting all that out.
Our laugh is like our song, it's like our voice, it's like our fingerprint. We all have our own laughter. It's a beautiful thing. And we have different laughs. And a laughter leader can be laughing ha 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 ha, ha and then talk. Like people are like I do a lot of school workshops, right? They might not know I'm there talking about worms and I'm laughing because I laugh when I talk. It's just how I am. It's
I
part of
saw
my
I saw the
character.
TED Talk. It was the TED Talk. I saw that you were doing your little ha ha, and I love that.
Right. And the kids will say to me, how come you laugh so much? So, I have them put up their hand. How come you laugh so much? And I think, these are young, like grade 2, grade 3 kids. It's like, oh, like, how come you're noticing that I'm laughing so much? Like, you should be laughing so much that you don't even notice somebody laughing. You're like, oh,
Right.
they're me. Look at them. They're laughing. Ha ha ha.
Yeah.
And so then I tell them I'm a laughter teacher. And then it's like, it's intriguing. It's like, wow, a laughter, like it's a thing. Like, imagine you want to grow up and be a laughter teacher. Cool. And help world peace. Why not? Right. So let me talk about some of the places. I know we're probably running out of time, but but I'm
No,
going to
we're
keep
okay.
going.
Yeah, we're okay.
So laughter yoga is a global movement. There is in India, it's in the curriculum in school. Like nobody's skipping that class, right? Laughter in class. So
Oh,
beautiful. Wow. They have, there are laughter yoga conferences, and the Canada one was last January, and there was this gentleman came, laughter teacher from Mexico, and he did this. There's some young men were in prison. They made a mistake selling drugs or just some mistake, an error in judgment.
Yeah.
And there they are now, they're hardened criminals. And so they did a laughter conference. They had psychologists and all this stuff. Every day they had a laughter regime, but they took pictures of, I don't know, maybe there was a dozen guys. They took a picture of these guys, 18, 19-year-olds. And they looked like thugs. They looked like what you would think they would look like in prison, their prison photo. And then they did laughter. It was hard at the beginning. Nobody. It's not cool to be right. It's come on, especially teenagers, right?
Yeah.
Yikes. And that, but after a while, they got into it and they played because it is allowing yourself permission. It's really allowing yourself, right? Getting out of your head and into your body and all right, like what the heck? I'm in jail anyway. Let's see. We'll play along. And so 30 days. And so just the short time that he had at the conference, they showed the before and after pictures of these guys. And wow, like it's like somebody cared about them and they had softened, some of them, had less like lines and they just looked up more approachable. So it's just magic what's happening. It's giving people back their sense of self and helping us connect. It helps social bonding, so in corporations, it helps people with creativity. It breaks down barriers between boss and employee,
Well, it all goes back to that the safety that you said. When you laugh and you create that connection together, you essentially feel safe with each other.
Yeah.
There's no other sense of tension.
Yeah, it breaks it. It breaks all that angst, A great thing to do, like if people are comfortable, like, that's why I do have a Tuesday club. I know we're probably going to talk about that, but I do have a free Tuesday club.
Please.
9:30 Tuesday on Zoom. It's free, 30 minutes of self-care. And as a laughter yoga practitioner, every teacher is different. And every class that I go to, laughter club that I go to is different, and they're all magnificent, but different. Mine, when I go to mine, I'm like, I really just want to attend my club. It's so fun. Oh, but I'm leading. So I've incorporated all kinds of healing techniques. Oh my gosh. Some people's social media feed is flooded with negative stuff. Mine seems to be flooded with positive stuff. And so I get all these positive, like I'm amazed how many summits there are, like during this cuckoo time, all these online summits, 3 days, 7 days, and they're free if you watch them at the time. You've probably seen some of these things, and then they have bonuses and all this stuff. So I'm signing up for all this stuff. I think I'm addicted. And so what I do is watch the whole thing, whatever, and then take what I want and apply it to laughter, because laughter goes with everything. And so my laughter club is different than others because I bring healing. Laughter is the best medicine. So I incorporate tapping, like EFT, emotional freedom technique, if you've heard of that, brain gym, other healing modalities, Qigong. And I was just introduced to Ho'oponopono. Ho'oponopono. Have you heard of that?
No.
Oh, come to my laughter club on Tuesday. I'm going to do a thing on Tuesday. It's from Hawaii. So Hawaii, look at this. Hawaii. Ha. And we have, I know, Hawaii. It's so fun. Okay. And Ho'oponopono. Ho'oponopono is 4 statements. Let me just say them, because these, you don't have to believe in them. You don't have to anything. Here they are. Watch this or listen to this. You say, I love you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. Those are the 4 statements. And even if you don't believe them, you just say those, and it's cleaning things. I don't know what it's doing yet. It's new for me. I was just introduced, but I'm like, oh, I'm so introducing a new. Let me show you the thing I'm going to introduce on Tuesday. It's going to be like, I love you. And it's forever. Like you have a problem with someone. I love you. Even for yourself. I love you. Right? Okay. First one. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. So Anne's hoping in your lap. Please forgive me. And then up your center meridian. Thank you.
Oh.
So just repeating those. So for the listeners, again, I mean, it's new to me. I don't know about it, but it can't hurt, right? Saying, I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you.
And when you say those things, it feels good, because like when you were saying earlier, your brain isn't your friend. So you essentially have to say these things to yourself in order to, like, I don't know, you kind of fool yourself into feeling a certain way.
Yeah, we go against ourselves. We and we're always competing with other people. We need to just compete with ourselves. Yeah. We really just need to be a better version of us every day. Like, just arrive, show up every day. Here I am. You might get beat down one day. It's okay. Get up the next day and, brush yourself off. There's always somebody in a worse situation. Don't compare, because it's not about them. It's about you. This is, it's your life. And there's a wonderful, we can actually end soon, because I know it's getting on long, but there's a wonderful motivational speaker called his name is Bob Proctor. He's a Canadian man.
Oh, I love
you know Bob Proctor.
Yeah.
Come on, he's the
Oh, then you probably know it already. Where he's okay. I'll say it because maybe all the listeners don't know.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Oh, I love that you know him. Oh, good. Hallelujah. Yeah, I know he's international phenomenon.
He was like one of the the starters of keeping your mindset like intact.
Yay.
Yeah.
Well, then you've probably heard this one, what he says, that most people are living like what do you say, like the second-hand role in their life rather than being the lead role in their life. I messed it up. Sorry, Bob.
No, I remember because we've talked about that prior as well, is that either something, a couple episodes in season 1 that we talked about was either you need to be in the driver's seat. So either you're going to create your life or somebody's going to create it for you.
Yeah, like often our parents, right? Like, oh, you should do this when you grow up. Oh, or maybe they didn't get to do something, so they think you should do it so they can live through you. But it's like, no, sorry you didn't have your chance, but this is my life. Not to be rude.
No, it's that's true, and we've said similar stuff to that in the past as well. I mean, in in this life you have to be optimistic but realistic at the same time. And so you have to, but and when I say realistic, I mean you have to take certain things as they are and you have to approach it with a new profound mindset. So that way, I mean, just understanding, this is my life. I'm going to be as Daniel said, in the driver's seat. I'm going to control it. I'm going to create it. By taking that initiative and taking that first step, you're already telling people around you, like, this isn't about you. It's about me creating my life and doing what I feel purposeful with. So I definitely agree with that.
Yeah. I love you, lads. You're so smart. I think the future is hopeful. Thank you for this
Yeah.
podcast.
Thank you for just coming and sharing your story. And that's actually a perfect segue as to how I wanted to wrap things up as well. Is if you typically we ask our guests kind of similar questions, just to kind of give their insight on as far as things that we talk about pretty consistently on the podcast. Which the first one being, if I was somebody that was brand new to, I'm looking into personal development, I'm trying to better myself, trying to open my mind, trying to just have a new positivity or a positive mindset, what would you recommend that I do in order to get the ball rolling?
One thing that I think is really powerful is power posing.
Mm.
So you can stand in the mirror. You can either have your hands on your hips. I don't know if you can see, but I have my hands like in the Wonder Woman pose, or you
Yeah.
can have them like like this. And I would actually suggest that people watch Amy Cuddy TED Talk, and it's all about power posing, and how she did research on people sitting small, being small, and people taking up space. If you're not living, if you're not taking up space, you're living too small. We're meant to be big and get noticed, like, and not in a braggart way, and not, that I'm better than you. It's just that we're all meant to be big, because our energy then will play together. It's like our energy is, when we have our hands open like this, we're just like, what do you have for me, universe? I'm ready, I'm open, versus being closed. So I would say power posing is very powerful. It's not easy to do. Start with 2 minutes, put a timer on. Everyone has phones. Take it in there with you. I know you do already. And stand in the washroom, right? And just look in the mirror and power pose, either like, superwoman, Superman, whatever. So, like this, and look at yourself. Don't look away. 2 minutes looking in the mirror. Look at yourself, and till the timer goes off. 2 minutes, and do it as often as you can. And because that says to your body, I'm powerful. It really. And if anybody is, and watch that Amy Cuddy video, because she talks about when people are being bullied. If they start doing power posing, you can't have two people power posing at the same time. Somebody has to kind of stand down in a way, like, not right. You can't have two people like being the alpha dog. So it has to shift. So if the person that's being bullied can take up more space and be bigger, they're going to get bullied less.
Wow.
I know.
I suppose
big,
it's a
right?
confidence thing.
Yeah,
It's confidence.
I was
Thank you.
going to bring into that confidence point. Do you guys know who Dr. Jordan B. Peterson is? I think
He's Canadian too.
he's Canadian. He's at the University of Toronto. He's a professor there. And he mentions that confidence thing, and he goes back and talks about lobsters and how lobsters always have their chest out, and that's why they're confident or are always fighting. I don't know. How when you have your chest out, or like, you walk with more confidence, and bring back to the power posing.
Yeah. So I think that would be the thing that I would say, Caleb.
Okay, good deal. And do you have any book recommendations or course recommendations? Just some piece of knowledge that's really helped you in your journey, your path. Is there a book or a audio book, anything? One that, or a couple that really stand out to you?
Oh yeah, I do have books. They may be dated references. The first one and it's an easy read, I've read it a few times, is Untethered Soul by Michael Singer.
Okay.
And yeah, it's kind of a lot of what we've been talking about, just, finding your way and kind of getting your ego out of the way, right? Like, kind of tries to hold you
Ooh.
back and all of those kind of
big
things.
thing.
That one's a great one. I quite enjoyed that one. And one that really set me on my path when I was 18 was Wayne Dyer, Your Erroneous Zones.
Dyer. I love
Wayne Dyer. I met Wayne Dyer. I paid $25. That was like in the 90s. Got a chance to see Wayne Dyer, and I was like, oh, I had a job. I was working in an office, and I mean, I know big stories, but you asked. So I think I was 17, working at head office for CP Hotels. Like, 17, I didn't want to work in head office, but I was that good. I wanted to work at one of the resorts or something, I wanted to go play. But anyway, I was at head office where everyone hates you. Anyway, whatever. Okay, so I had a call with my dad, and somehow he made me cry. So I'm sitting at my desk crying, and my boss came in and saw me crying. He walked past and he was like, what's wrong? And I said, nothing, like we do, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, nothing. And so he grabs a box of Kleenex and he's like, come on in. Like, you don't cry at your desk for nothing. So, like, what a smart man. That guy, I'm like, I credit him to a big piece of why I'm where I am today. I mean, we talked about that earlier. So he brought me in, I told him, whatever, the story about my dad. And because he asked, what am I going to do? I was a people pleaser at that time, right? I had to do what people said because I was a people pleaser. So when he asked me what's wrong, I had to tell him, when he questioned me. Anyway, so I did. The next day I came into work and there was Wayne Dyer's Your Erroneous Zones on my desk. And I was like, oh, great. My boss thinks I'm mental. True story. And I was like, oh, well, right. I'm a people pleaser. I better read the bloody book. So I did. Change my life.
Oh, wow.
I was like, yeah, my dad can't make me feel bad. That's his stuff. Why am I feeling bad? That's his story. What? And then the next time I talked to my dad, I had the guts to say, I didn't like what you did there. That wasn't cool. Wow. If you want to know how your dad is, you should ask how your dad's doing. Don't put it on me about, I don't know how grandpa is.
Right.
Right.
Wow.
And that was big, right? 17. And I learned people can't make you feel guilty. You take on the guilt because you want to.
Exactly.
Or you don't know better, but you don't know better.
You don't.
Right.
That's true.
Yeah. Wayne Dyer, big one.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's an excellent point. And that kind of brings me to my final point as well, is if there was one thing that you had to pick out from this episode of what we've talked about tonight, what would be one thing that you really want people to take with them and really drive the point home? Like, if there's one thing you could take from it, what would it be?
Oh my gosh, there were so many. Holy. I guess for this time, I would say get your mental health in order. So laugh, however that is for you. If it's watching comedies, if that's what you need, or attend a club, like there's so many clubs online. There's actually an international laughter yoga conference or calendar that has all of the clubs that are all free around the world. And when you click on it, it's in your time zone. I have no idea how they did that. Thank God for technology.
Wow.
Cool, right? Isn't that cool? Yeah. And that's in my latest newsletter. I should put it right on my website. But yeah, my club is at 9:30. So I would say work on your mental health. Work on your mental health, because if you're not feeling good, you don't care about the planet. We got to look after us first, and then we can get worms.
Mm-hmm.
It's like an airplane. You got to put the mask on before you mask up the next person.
Exactly.
Yeah. I hate that metaphor today, though.
Good deal. Well, Cathy, where can people find you? Where can they connect with you? Where can they get in touch with you, where's the best place for people to reach out to you and find you?
So probably my worm website. It's kathyscomposters.com. And I do want people to come to my laughter club on Tuesdays. All are welcome. Have your camera on or off. I mean, I prefer that it be on, but if people are uncomfortable, they can come and check it out and keep their camera off and just play along and experience the magic. Yeah, so I probably they can get to all of that through my worm website.
Good deal. And we will, of course, we will put your website and your do you want people to email you, or is that
Yeah, why not?
okay? Good deal. We'll put your contact info as well as your website in the show notes and everything like that, so people can go and connect with you, and then we'll give them a link to the club as well on Tuesday. So
On Tuesday?
At 9:30 a.m. Eastern.
Okay.
good deal.
Cool.
So for our
That might
central
be.
folks,
Is
that's
that going to be
8 p.m.
early for you? What time zone are you
No.
guys?
We're
8
central.
So it'll be
Central.
8:30. We're early worms.
Yeah.
Watch out for those birds.
Oh.
Right, the early bird gets the worm. Yeah, but the early worm gets eaten.
Oh man. Well, thank you so much, Cathy. We really do appreciate it. I mean, this was an amazing start to you're actually our first guest of season 2, so this couldn't have been any
number
better.
1. Woo!
Yeah.
Once you're number 1, you can't be anything else.
You can't. You really can't. It's just 2 or 3 and all the others after. So thank
how
you.
wonderful. Thank you. You guys are doing great work. Thank you so much.
We appreciate that. And of course, as always, you guys, our viewers, you'll find all of our contact info, all the places you can find us in the show notes as well in the description. So with that being said, we are so happy that you guys are back for season 2. We got a lot of special guests, as you can tell. As you can tell, we have a lot of great guests coming to you guys.
Number one.
You guys don't forget to go ahead and go ahead, give us a rating, hopefully 5 stars. If it's not, don't give us a rating, but give us a comment, share with your friends, of course. Again, like Daniel said at the beginning, we're just trying to help as many people as we can. Our goal is 1,000, but if we can surpass that as soon as possible, I mean, we're all for it. So thank you guys so much for reaching out to us and showing us so much love. We really do appreciate it. And here's to an amazing season 2.
Get some worms.
Get some worms. All right. Love you guys.
Thank you. Okay.